Hudson and Scotty B need a therapist. Hudson Hot, Scotty Blaisdell, my longtime partner, and our resident therapist, Alan Wagner. How you doing, guys? How's it?
Doing well. Yeah. How about you guys? You guys were kind of under the weather on Monday, but you pushed
Oh,
through like champs.
we're good. We're feeling good. I don't even know how we did the podcast on Monday, but I laid out in the sun, worked on my tan a little bit since I wasn't feeling good.
So do
Vitamin D.
you just lay out? Do you do that? I've never understood laying out.
Really? I
Yeah,
would like
I can't
park
do
it
it.
and stay there all day. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things now about living on the ocean. You know what I mean? I got that little ocean breeze going. Just give me a glass of water, some fruit, good to go. Yeah.
Even
I know
living in
guys can't
Hawaii,
lay out. You
I
have to be
wanted to
busy
be
or something.
I wanted to go do something and be out in the sun, go to the beach and get in the ocean and do things, but I see people just laying there and I'm like, I just don't you're
Well,
you're like a rotisserie chicken.
Do I look tan? Do I look like a rotisserie chicken? All
no,
right.
you look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. But
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
But I
he's
think that's the
supposed to
interesting
say
thing
that.
about when people work from home. It's like you can just sort of pop outside and go get a tan for half an hour, and then come back in. And I think that, it's a totally different lifestyle now that people are working remotely, don't you guys think?
Oh, for sure.
that's true. But even as for me as a kid, my crazy dad who is perpetually tan.
Did he have one of those things that you held like
Yes.
a
So
that
this is
the
what I remember as a kid. This is in New York City. My dad would come home on his lunch break. He would get in a Speedo and he had this silver contraption, like one of those car visors,
yeah, the
Yeah.
visor, the silver part.
Yeah, I know. If
reflector.
people are listening on the podcast, it's you know those visors that are like sort of like silver metallic and they reflect the sun right onto you harsher than just the
Yeah.
regular sun.
And he would for 1 hour, he'd make himself a little lunch and he would lay out in the Speedo. Even when it was like 50 degrees out, he'd be out there with that silver thing. And like my friends would be like, what the hell is he doing? I'm like, he's working on his tan. So yeah.
Yeah, well,
But again, one of those luxuries of, either living by the ocean now and taking advantage of that. And I lived
I
in
was just gonna
LA.
say, just to let you know, the sun is other places too.
True. But you know something for me, you know, suck it, Scotty. Uh, but even though we lived in Los Angeles, right? I really didn't have the time because I was
Mm,
working so much to really leave work, even though my show ended at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've missed the good sun hours, and then the traffic was
yeah.
always so hellacious. I never got a chance to just get in the car, go on over to Malibu and kick it for an hour because it would be 1 hour would be a 6 hour drive.
Yeah.
Traffic is nuts. One of our episodes that is still continuously doing so well is the Tinkerbell episode talking about reinventing your life and side hustles. And I've had so many messages about it. And I thought, since all of us have done this ginormous life change,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the reality of what we've experienced. And if it can help you in any way, I think that we all have something to share. What do you think?
I think so. And I think sometimes that's one of the most terrifying things in life is giving up what you know and going into the unknown because there's no guarantees.
There
It
isn't.
takes
Oh,
faith, it takes gumption.
It's funny. I actually asked Siri, like, hey, Siri, I want to start my life over. What should I do? And she sent me directions to IKEA. Okay. Which is pretty funny. But in all
Okay.
honesty, for both of you and I, we have been
Mhm.
doing radio for more than 30 years, right?
Yeah.
We did a morning show together for how many years?
Well, it
20,
was about 20.
about 20 years together. And this is all we know. And to get to a point, and not because we love it, it's our absolute passion. I mean, here we are. We're now doing a podcast because we missed one another. We missed this connection. We missed our friends and connecting with you. I mean, that was really the gist of it. We missed you. We decided to do this, but to give it up and give up my full-time gig, it was the hardest thing to walk away from. But the fact is that Alan actually gave me the strength to do it. I was so scared because it's my identity. Did you feel that way too? Like when you
Well,
left?
well, let's talk about because that's ultimately what you're saying. Maybe right now someone's listening or watching and you're feeling like maybe there's more to life than what I have right now. Maybe there's something I'm missing that I've invested so much in this, but it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And am I willing at this point in life? And this is not, we're not 20 years old making a decision.
No.
You know, you're a grown person with mortgages and with
Isn't.
responsibilities. And maybe
Yeah.
all of the relationships you know in life are in this area. Can you pick up and go and be okay? It's a scary thought.
That's and that was it for me. I was back and forth, back and forth. And I knew that once we put our house on the market, I was a ball of nerves. The thing for us really, I love my job. It had nothing to do with me not loving my job and what I do. I couldn't afford to live there. And it was only getting worse. And so I had to make that decision. Am I going to get another part-time job to survive? But at the end of the day, all I was doing was working and not enjoying beautiful Los Angeles. That's what it had gotten to. And I wanted to live. And Alan told me, look, you know what? It's only going to get worse. Our taxes finally went to the point where we couldn't afford it any longer. I mean, truthfully. And that's with both of us working. I don't know how people are doing it today. So we made the leap. And I was
Well,
an emotional
and
wreck.
also let me add, when you start to think about as you get a little bit older in life and you start thinking about the end of your work time or how is your retirement savings? How far will that retirement savings go where you are right now? And places like Hawaii, places like California,
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't go nearly as far as they do in a place like where we are, North Carolina or
Right.
other places. So that's a consideration too when you start to think about should I make a move?
On
Right.
that same subject, there's the money aspect of things, but there's the happiness aspect of things.
Hmm.
And there's a concept, I don't know if I brought this up on our podcast, but I think people understand cognitive dissonance, or at least you've heard it before. And I think all of us, get very invested in what we're doing. And I heard Hudson say in that, like about her job. And it's like there's so many people who want her job. And it's like I've been at this job for this many years. And if I leave, then I have to start all over again. Or I've been with this partner for this many years. And if I leave, I'll have to start all over again. And so there's a lot of people who are unhappy professionally and personally, but they don't make changes because in their minds it's like they have to double down on the choices they've already made, especially when you get to be our age and like in the middle of life and you have kids. It's not easy. It's like all your friends are there, your kids are in school, and you can find rationalizations to just build up credit card debt or live unhappily,
Oh,
or
yeah.
like you said, it's living in Los Angeles or Hawaii on a fixed income later is going to be terrible. But it is something that I think when you're in a situation, whether it's a job that you're working somewhere in the world listening to this, or a relationship that you're in, you may not be happy. And you may be, COVID, I think, got a lot of people to make big moves. And that's when a lot of people migrated around the country. A lot of people got divorced. A lot of people just made huge changes personally and professionally during that time. Are you sort of doubling down on choices that have led to your unhappiness? Because to admit fault now would have a financial implication or some other type of personal implication that would make it harder to get back and pivot your life. The example I give sometimes is like I had somebody once building a website and I spent all this money and the website was terrible and they just kept making it and more changes and I kept spending more money and eventually I had to eat the loss as opposed to continue to work with that person and just have a bad website. I just ate the loss, started all over again and paid somebody new and did a different website.
Well, they say don't throw good money after bad, right?
Yeah.
Same concept.
I've heard that. Yeah. No, that's really true. But I do believe that all of this is, I mean, you all are saying everything that's true. And the next step, and again, that's why we have a therapist, is to mentally adjust. And that is the hardest part because once we made the move, and I was very excited. I was very, very excited. I was scared. It happened. I did it. It's like going to the doctors when you know you have to get an epidural or something, and it's going to happen. You know the size of that needle, and it's long, and where is it going? You know what I mean? And you don't know where your life is going. That's a weird analogy to make, but I
Well,
really had a nervous breakdown when I got here.
yeah.
Legit.
Let me piggyback on that because, and I don't think we shared on the podcast, but I know I shared in an interview recently that my move was motivated out of a family tragedy, but making a decision even after that to give everything up, which was a great job in Hawaii, great friends, and a great life, as we
Yeah.
talked about. But I know my family needed to be closer to family and to get healing and counseling and things that we needed. And I went to my boss and I said, I need to move. And they encouraged me not to because In our business, you can't give up a good job because there's not another great job waiting. There's
No.
no guarantees because you're somebody in one place that they'll accept you in another. So why would you do this? You're on a path that leads you to retirement and great things here. And I said, no, I can't think that way. So I told my wife, I go, yeah, it's time to make the move. So we did. And I gave up the job. I came here with nothing,
You gave up the security.
the security. My wife had a job, to be fair. She was working remotely and she could do that anywhere, but her income was not anywhere near mine. So we were going to have to support ourselves on some savings that we had and just see what happened. I know that feeling you were talking about, Hudson. I remember getting in my car and I was praying to God. I go, why did I do that? Did I do the wrong thing? Is this, I don't see the answer. I don't see how you're going to make this work for me here, but I want to trust you. And I remember having these kind of passionate, honestly fearful, honest prayers. And I started to find people I could talk to about these things and get encouragement. And I still don't know exactly what the ultimate thing is going to happen here. I did get another radio job, and that lasted for about a year and a half.
Well, you're not
Uh,
looking for another one now because you know where that's going to go.
well, I said to someone, they asked if I was willing to relocate to do radio in a market, actually a decent sized market, and I said no. This is my home now. So whatever I do, I need to do it here. So I built this home studio and I'm doing commercials and we're doing the podcast and
Right.
I'm working on some stuff for an audio book and I'm finding a way to use the talents and skills that I have, but
Yeah.
it's still scary because I'm building something that I've never had to do before. I've just gone from corporate to corporate to corporate. So to be on your own, it is terrifying, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting because you don't know
You don't
what you're
know.
capable of. You don't know what you're capable of.
I think it's different for me than you guys because I've been self-employed now for at least 15, 20 years. So I've been slowly, I always kind of talk to clients about the three acts of life, and I won't get into it now, but the second act of life is the structural one, and the third one is how you finish. And I knew for the last, 15, 20 years even, and I was in LA for 30, I did not want to finish in Los Angeles. I didn't want to live that life where, it was just basically a cash-based life. And it didn't feel like it was free. The people didn't feel sincere.
It's very transactional.
But at the same time, I have great friends in LA, and that's what made it like when we talk about that cognitive dissonance. I have family. I have, as and Hudson knows how close I am with my friends, and I have a lot of close friends in Los Angeles, and so that made it difficult for me. But by being self-employed and like your wife being remote, I was thinking ahead to the third act years ago. But as we've gotten to North Carolina, I understand what you guys are talking about. It's a big transition. I lost my friends, I lost my family. I had to go get licensed here in North Carolina. So I have a California license and a North Carolina license and start working on other businesses here. It was hard, but I think as we've started to make friends, things are changing. And I think that's the cool thing about it is that we're building friend groups, piggybacking on what we talked about a couple
Right.
of
We talked about it. That's another good episode, by the way, about making friends. It's really difficult when you're in your 40s and other couple friends to go out and have fun with on dates and stuff. And it's another good episode to listen to.
But I think once you start to make friends, you start to love your home, you start to get your routines going, you start to find the restaurants that you like. I could see myself in 10 years where Wilmington is just home. And Hudson and I talk about it. I don't, I mean, even if we were to move to a different home at some point, I don't think we would leave this area. We really like the area. We
We
like
really do.
making.
It's a little scary taking that leap, and then all those emotions eventually hit once you do. And I do remember feeling I made the worst decision of my life.
It's hard.
Those feelings are real. You're just second guessing your decisions, and all of those emotions come flooding in.
I guess what we're trying to get into with all of our stories is, what is your breaking point? What is the point that you say, your aha moment that maybe I do need to start over as hard as it's going to be. Maybe I do need to change my location, or maybe I need to change my career because things have changed in my industry and I'm not getting promoted, or my salary instead of going up is going down, which is a lot of industries right now. But what is the moment for most people listening to this? And I'd love to hear back in the comments too, that you say to yourself, okay, I'm hitting the ejection button.
I remember I made a New Year's resolution one time. I shared this on the radio. Hudson may remember it, but it had to do with shopping carts.
Mm.
And
I totally okay, you tell the story.
I said, my resolution is if I go to the store and I pull a shopping cart that has a wobbly wheel or makes a weird noise or pulls to the left, I will stop myself at the door, take it back, and get a different cart.
Yep.
How many times have we just pushed around a cart and been annoyed the whole time? It's a simple thing
Right.
to
It's
just identify a problem and just
the wheel that always gets stuck.
That's
And it
get rid
was
of it.
always,
I love that, Scotty. That is such a good example. That happened to me at Costco over the weekend. Same thing. And it's like I
Yeah,
had already gone too far from the carts that I just stuck it out for
right.
an hour with a bad cart instead of taking the minute or two to go back and get a fresh cart because of the exact same concept we're talking about in a very
Yeah.
simplified way. That's exactly it.
It really is. And so there's things in life, and you're like, why do I keep, I don't enjoy this. This annoys me. This person is not good in
Yep.
my life. They're bringing me down. I, okay, go change carts,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and
whatever
you
that
know what?
means.
Ever since when you brought that up that first time when it was the New Year's resolution, I used to do the same. I'd have the dick cart and like, it's like, oh, but it was like, I had to push it up further, harder on the right to keep it straight. No longer, ever since you brought that up. So that was something awesome. I jumped on board with you on that one. Whatever it is, that dream that you have. I mean, with the way the world is, we've talked about this in numerous episodes. It's all over the news. It's all over social media. AI is taking over our lives. It really is. So there are certain jobs that will be no longer. You will have to reinvent yourself. So this is the time right now to start. I mean, I don't want to be preachy or anything, but I'm just telling you the truth.
Hudson, we talked to somebody in the music industry who had a prominent role and now he's selling insurance.
Yep.
He actually was smart enough to get off the train probably a year earlier than everybody else who's still on that train.
He's still in the music industry, but it's not his number one any longer. And we're talking a 30-year career.
Well, it's a time to think about exactly. We're watching corporations contract, we're watching salaries potentially go down for certain types of jobs. And so when is the point that you have to reevaluate? Is it when your credit card debt gets too high? Is it when you just don't have money to do things on the weekends or date nights or take your family places or sign your kids up for stuff? Like, what is the turning point for people listening that they say, I need to end this? Because as hard as it is, it's hard to pull kids from school. It's hard to leave family and friends. It's hard to leave a job if you've been there for 5 or 6 years and you're not at the bottom. And in your mind, it's like I have seniority, and if I start somewhere else, I'm gonna start at the bottom. But seniority doesn't save people, and I see so many people being laid off, and not to mention the fact, you can talk about burnout as well, and people who stay at
That's
something
real. That is,
without
I
leading to
mean,
real outcomes and real results. I've seen an increase in suicidal ideation as a therapist because people are hopeless. They're looking at massive debt. They're pulling their 401ks early and they're trying to just continue to not lose their homes or not lose their cars or whatever it is, not lose their life. But it's going to drain out and they're hopeless. And so I guess what we're all saying is that we took a leap of faith and it wasn't easy to leave a huge market like Los Angeles or Hawaii to come to North Carolina, but it was a big, big jump. And we saw the writing on the wall that was going to happen a year or two in the future.
That's a
right.
good way to say it there. You can kind of see the writing on the wall. You see the path that your industry is going or you personally are going and say, is that the road I want to stay on? And then I don't think we're saying drop everything and move and hope
No,
for the best. I think there's practical things you need to do. There's advice you need to seek. There's
right.
steps you need to take to prepare that move. You've got to use your brain and not just go fancifully off to chase your
Correct.
dream.
That's a great point. And I don't think people should make impulsive moves like breaking up with someone just because they're upset with them that day or having a breakdown and making an impulsive move without really thinking if you're going to be landing on solid flooring. But at the same time, as much as we can talk about those types of things of being ready or making those moves, you still have to look at the fact that people are unhappy and they have to be thinking about their future. And if they're just going to go home and drink or go home and smoke weed, which is I think a lot of America right now, they're going home and
A
they're
lot of
drinking wine,
people.
they're smoking weed, they're checking out because they're unhappy.
They're trying to
They want
numb
to get through
themselves.
their day, Groundhog Day style, to get to the next one. And I think if you live your life that way, you're not thinking a year or two ahead of your industry. You're not thinking a year or two ahead of your personal life. And you probably will be living that same life in 2 years if you're lucky.
And I don't think, as well, you're going to solve every problem before you make a big move.
Oh, no way.
It's leaping into the unknown, of course.
Yeah.
So, Alan, maybe you can give us maybe a starting point. What is a good starting point right now for somebody who is in a job that possibly is just not paying enough for them to pay their bills any longer? Might be a dead end job because it's going to be, eventually replaced by AI. How does somebody make that first step?
Well, we
I
have
mean,
to.
I had you, we did it together, but there might be a single person right now who doesn't have a partner, who doesn't have that partnership to help them and make them feel strong.
When you're looking at your job and you're seeing how much it costs to live and you're thinking about your monthly budget, if you start to realize that the percentage of rent or mortgage or whatever is going higher and higher and utilities, but your salary is not, and your lifestyle is suffering, what is the point for you personally that you say this is a bad lifestyle for me? Are you a person who likes to go to the movies and you can't afford to go to the movies anymore? Are you a person who likes to go to restaurants but you can't afford to go to restaurants anymore? What is the point for you, that you realize that financially you can't continue in that profession, and maybe either you need to go back to school and get an additional education, or maybe you're going to have to take the skills from that profession and pivot somewhere else. But if your cost of living goes down, but your income stays the same, then your quality of life will go up. And as Hudson and I know, here in North Carolina, people may have less money or smaller homes than in California, but they have boats, they have multiple trucks, they have jet skis,
They have
they
vacation.
have RVs, they go on vacations. So their quality of life is much higher, even if their income is down here. And so you've got to ask yourself, what is the quality of life that makes you happy? Are you content to stay at home all the time and be frustrated with the prices of everything? And I think whether it's New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami,
Hawaii is, oh
Hawaii, of course,
man, I would have loved to have moved back to Hawaii.
but there's a lot of people leaving. I mean, because all of those places
You
are
just can't afford it.
It's not easy. So to your question, Hudson, I think what I would tell people at the beginning stage is if you look at your personal life and you look at your professional life, I want you to think ahead 2 years. Like close your eyes right now listening to this podcast and think about if I did nothing, what would happen in 2 years? Would I get promoted or would I stay the same? Is my business or company going in the right direction? Do my bosses like me? And are they typically over the history of me working there? Do they promote people? Do they give raises? What is my life like at this company? And will this company be okay in a couple of years? Are they doing well? Are they laying people off? Or
How are their stocks?
yeah, what are the bottom line of
With
this
their
company?
stocks. You can
Because the
you
same thing
the
with your,
stocks will tell a pretty solid picture of your company
yeah,
and the direction that they're going.
Well, I
yep.
have a boss that is just a jerk, talks negative, talks down to me all the time. I mean, of course, I'm self-employed,
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
but but it's like that, when you have to do things on your own and you're not used to doing that. I know you've been entrepreneurial a lot, Alan, but you have to be positive. I struggle with, and people, this is almost overused these days, with that imposter syndrome.
yeah,
People will see through me. They'll know, blah, 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 and you start to just doubt every move that you want to make.
right.
It's paralyzing.
I think what helped me in entrepreneurship and working for myself, which I think a lot of people have side hustles who are listening to this and they're also working for themselves in some way, is you don't have a boss. Like I loved your depreciating joke, Scotty, about your boss, which is you. But that's the same thing with me. Hudson knows I'm a crazy list maker and I know what I'm doing any given day. And it's a very weird job being a therapist because, especially a couples therapist, because my individual clients always stay the same. But because I try to be effective, I may see couples 4 or 5 times before they're done. It's very referral based. So I'm constantly not going into my given week, walking a tightrope of not knowing what my schedule is for that week. It's different, and you have to live with that anxiety of not knowing that I get a salary, not knowing that I get sick days, and knowing that if I don't do what's on my task, there's not someone who's going to come into my office and sit me down and say, what's going on with this?
But you got to make the first step. And the most important thing of all is you have to believe in you. You know what I'm saying?
But that also means, Hudson, being accountable because we can all manifest dreams and say, oh, it's going to work out for us and I'm going to do this. But if you don't set deadlines and goals of when you're going to complete tasks then you
Right.
shouldn't work for yourself.
Alan has it down. I mean, he's been doing it for so long. Hold up your phone and show your list of to do.
I know I can't, it's personal stuff. I can't, I don't want to get into showing everybody, but it's
Okay.
a massive
It's
list
a
that I do
massive
every
list.
week.
And for one day after he does that thing, he gives it a thumbs up.
Right.
Done.
Return
Next to it.
email, set cons like I have consults coming up. My day is very structured in the sense that even though I don't have a boss telling me what to do and I buy my own insurance, I still have to map out what is my Wednesday. Is it going to be productive for my family? What is my Thursday, my Friday, my Saturday? And
Are
it's
you
a
going to have a date
living.
night?
So I get it. I'm
Yeah.
there having insurance and benefits and all of those things because it's a nice safety net and sick days. And, it just doesn't come when you're an entrepreneur. But I also like the freedom of it. And to me, going back into this whole cognitive dissonance thing and what we're talking about reinvention and going and leaving, I think in order to do something like that, you really have to believe in yourself and you have to be willing to, take risks, spend money, lose, and fail. And I think a lot of people are scared of failure. And I can just tell you, if I was ever giving a TED talk or something in the future, my life is littered with failures and it's littered with success. And if I gave up after failure, I'd be, under somebody else's thumb right now and hating my job and hating my life and feeling probably taken for granted.
I just watched a video of a guy giving a speech to some graduating college students,
Yep.
and one of the things that he said was, "Don't have big dreams." And it seemed counterintuitive, but his point was a lot of times you have this big, fanciful thing that you want to end up at, but you don't set the preliminary steps along the way. And so you always
Okay, that
feel
makes
like
sense.
you haven't achieved because you haven't gotten to that dream.
Well, it's
And
it's
I,
sort of like playing guitar, right, Scotty? I mean, if you think about if you can watch Eddie Van Halen on a YouTube video and be really impressed, but in order to play guitar from scratch, it's a lot of just working on chords, getting blisters, working on your thumb. It's boring. And I think, when I talk to Hudson, I always use a pyramid analogy of building businesses because you're building foundations and all of that stuff is boring. Step one, step two, step three. But you have to have a big dream to know the outcome, but you got to work backwards to know what are the steps so that you can have mini successes. So you don't feel like you're just in quicksand or treading water, but you actually see that, okay, I'm at step 10 now, not step one, and things are moving along.
Those milestones, even the
Probably just
smallest milestones.
I think that's where people mess up is that they on a scale of 1 to 10, they get to a 3 or a 4 and it's not the 10. So they go back to the one. And I think that there's a time in life when we have to understand that sometimes we may get stuck on 4 or 5, but we got to get to 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, and then 10. And I believe I'm an optimist and I believe in the power of people. And I believe anybody can be a 10 if they choose to be and they are willing to put the work in. And it's not fun. It's not easy. But if they put the work in, they can be a 10. But a lot of times it's going to be a hard schlep. And I just hope that people understand that and don't quit and just say, oh, it didn't work. Because I think that's unfortunate when that happens because it's never easy. And any person that you'll ever see that's successful has so many failures in their past.
Any kind of success usually takes minimum of 2 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, and this is proven.
Totally.
I have a friend who owns a company called Lovesac. Do you know what Lovesac is? You've maybe seen it at the mall.
don't know.
Oversized, ginormous beanbag chairs, and they have
Okay.
these sofas that are like amazing. But in any way, his name is Sean. Just to even to get to for anyone to even look at his ideas, it was 2 years. So whatever it is you're going to do, remember that's your big picture.
But again, what we're talking about here isn't just about running away from your life, your relationship, your state, your job.
Nope.
And Hudson said something earlier today, which resonated with me a lot, which was that it's not about running away, it's about running towards something that she hasn't met yet and seeing it from a much more optimistic perspective of and a goal-oriented perspective of positive outcomes as opposed to just like leaping off a ship that's blowing up or something like that and running. These people who just run away from their life tend to replicate their lives, in my opinion, as a therapist. But if
Mm.
you run towards something and you know what's different about it and how you will be different in that environment, then it's about really having optimism and changing your life to the life you dream about living with intention.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I
Yeah.
think what you measure success by can change as you get older. I think it used to be the stuff you have, the names on those things. Now, I sit with my wife sometimes, and we have some grandkids,
He's a
and
grandpa. He's Grandpa Scotty. You're like Eminem.
and
You know,
and
Eminem's a
when I
grandpa
walk
too.
when I walk into the room and I hear Papa, it to me says everything was worth it, and
Yeah.
that I couldn't even dream of this love and being close to my sons are here. My son Brandon moved from Alaska to North Carolina after we did with his family. They left everything. And
Yeah.
within like a month, they just left and came here and started from scratch as well. And we're building a life together. And to see them and to have that interaction, something that would never have happened had we stayed where we were.
No
So
way.
I think you have to look at the things beyond the financial aspects.
Yep.
And obviously, we can afford a bigger house here, and we've enjoyed that. But these other things are what fills my life.
I
Even
think that
traffic.
is so that's so important, Scotty. Family is so important.
Yeah.
And the fact that you get to do that now, that's your happy place. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's where your happiness is coming from. And everything else is just, okay, I got this. I can keep going. I can keep doing this.
And I think there's that too, because I think when you see that your family can come along with you and be a part of the new life, that's obviously ideal. It doesn't always happen for everybody, though, unfortunately. But that is great when that can happen that way, And I think for me here, it's like I hear people, talking about the traffic. But speaking of family, that's something in Los Angeles. I don't know how it was for you guys in Hawaii, but probably for people listening in a lot of the bigger cities in this country or around the world right now, if you're listening, I think there's people listening in Japan right now, in the
That's
UK,
right.
Russia.
Konnichiwa.
But yeah, people who are in Japan
Go
who are
ahead, yes.
listening, I think when you really look down at how is it that this is going to make my life better. And when it comes to the family stuff as well, you just want to have that closeness, but at the same time, you also want to have a life that is better. And sitting in a car in Los Angeles sucks. Sitting in a car probably in Tokyo sucks, or New York City. And a lot of my life was traffic in Los Angeles, and it was just sitting in my car. And as much as I love podcasts and being on one, and I listen to them in the car, it's something that I just felt like a lot of my life was in transit. And it's nice here because the longest that Hudson and I are ever in the car is what, 20 minutes?
Yeah, 20 minutes, something like that. Yeah, I've let a lot of things go. Those feelings of the regret that I've given my life up, because I had those and I couldn't be happier. And I'm really, really looking forward to my future. You still have so much, no matter what age you are, and you're going through a hard time and you're making a really rough decision to, get out of, something that's dead end or you can no longer afford any longer. And maybe you're going to go to a new place. Open eyes, open arms, open heart. Take it in and go with it. Run.
I have friends and clients in their 60s and 70s that are making these types of changes. So if you're in your 30s or 40s listening to this, just understand that it was harder for them, even, you can imagine, to make those moves. So it's never easy to end a relationship that is no optimism or that's not leading you to any kind of fulfillment or reflecting back on you, the great person that you are. And same thing with a job, if it's not feeding you, if it's not literally feeding you, but even if it's just not feeding you emotionally, or you have bosses that don't respect you, or you just feel like a cog, these are the kind of things that people should think about. And don't be scared by your age, because I've watched people who are not 20 years old make huge life changes and are happier for it.
Maybe we left things out in our story that you're interested to know. You can ask those questions. We'd love to hear from you. Ask some specifics. You're thinking about doing something, and what are steps that we took or we think you should take?
Exactly. Like this is what Scotty is saying is absolutely true.
So let us know wherever you happen to able to comment. Instagram's a great
Instagram,
place.
Facebook. Again, so humbled and honored and flattered. And I thank you for coming on board and hanging out with us. Hudson and Scotty B need a therapist. I'm Hudson Hot.
Scotty B.
And Alan Wagner.
LMFT. Goodbye.